Howdy. Hi. How are you doing? All right. We are creeping in on a big holiday weekend in America, and it is very exciting. So, yes. Welcome. I'm going to share a little bit about my sleep routine and what I think is a secret to getting good sleep, and sort of a lesser known, lesser spoken of way to think about sleep that I haven't heard anyone talk about, right? So I want to just start by saying I'm not a doctor, or not yet anyway. And if you're going to change your routine, you should definitely talk to your doctor. I'm going to talk about some of the vitamins I use at the end, but I really want to share the sort of way I look at sleep now and how I came to this realization, because I very rarely talk about my personal experience with my own sort of high performance, my growth, how do I stay on track, things like that. Um, yeah, I spend so much time doing that, but I spend very little time sharing that stuff. And I guess, yeah, I've been getting some requests for that sort of thing. So, yeah. All right. So this is again my personal experience with sleep. Now, if you're anything like me, you've spent years with issues around sleep, whether or not you have kids, or you might just have a high stress life, and you might have gotten yourself into the habit of having really crappy sleep, right? So one of my clients this week said to me, she's like, I move around all night long. She's like, I toss and turn, I end up at different edges of the bed, and yeah, it's kind of like aerobics all night long. And I used to be like that maybe 10 years ago, right? And then the past couple years, it would just be my brain was on, right? Like really on at night. Like at about 11 o'clock, it would start being this incessant worrying about work and tomorrow and emails that I have to respond to, and which opportunity do I go? Like, there's only so much time in the day. Like, which one should I do? And then the next morning, I'd get up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. And the answer to some of those things are really clear. And the email that I have to send takes 3 minutes. And I thought about it for 45 minutes last night, right? So you're sort of like, what am I doing with my energy? But you get in this cycle and you can't break it, right? So I want to talk about breaking the cycle. But when we talk about breaking the cycle, what is the cycle, right? So the cycle is not simply, when we think about sleep hygiene, which is kind of a cool way to think, like, how do you set yourself up for sleep at night? We sort of look at that as, can we set an alarm that it's like 8:30 time to start to unwind, or it's 10:30, turn the TV off, or stop having blue light. And these things are all really relevant, right? Stop having caffeine after 2 o'clock. Some people would say noon. It obviously all depends on your system and knowing what you need. But not just looking at the the couple hours leading up to falling asleep as part of your sleep cycle, but pulling all the way back and sort of investigating what's called the circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm is really the 24-hour cycle that your body and your organs go through to create homeostasis. So simply seeking balance, right? Certain organs will, you can think about it as almost house cleaning. At certain times of the day, certain organs are performing their house cleaning. The energy of the body will focus on the liver. I think it's 3 to 5 p.m. And this works with the meridian system. So I'm speaking of traditional Chinese medicine, and, more of an Eastern way of looking at the body and its subtle energy, right? So we want to think about, and this is sort of outside of how we think of performance, and some people doing really well getting up at 5:30 in the morning and powering up those first couple hours to really move their business forward, right? And I love that. But I also have friends that have created multi-million dollar businesses, clients that like to sleep till 9, and they will not jeopardize how they sleep. And I think that that's a really smart way to know oneself, right? So that's very relevant and part of your self discovery, right, and understanding of yourself. But this is the science of how your body is moving through the 24-hour cycle in such a way that we're not outside of that just because we like to sleep in or we like to work, 5 to 7 every morning. That almost is more your style and how you lean. And I think you should be using that to frame your 24-hour cycle with the understanding of what the cycle is, right? So, how it works, it's all hormones, right? And I often say that we are nothing more than a bag of hormones. I mean, we're obviously a lot more than a bag of hormones, but we are basically a bag of hormones. So, what's happening is stimuli, the cycle we're in, the time of the day, all affects what's happening hormonally. And we know that cortisol is a hormone, and when there's too much of it in the system, it wreaks havoc on the organs, the heart, the immune system, long term health, and youth, right? Longevity. So, you can think about like, Osprey and biohacking and all that cool stuff. You can look at my program, Biohacking Performance, about really tracking how you're approaching where stress is spread out through your day, right? So you might look at your day and be like, okay, I'm getting stressed at 11 o'clock at night. I'm thinking about work. Okay, so your hormones are overfiring cortisol at that time of day, when you really should be having cortisol coming in earlier in the day to ramp you up so that you have a peak in the morning, and then that cortisol takes you through the afternoon so you have a certain amount of energy to deal with life and process things, right? So yeah. So how do I want to explain this? So basically, a lot of times we're looking at the hormones from the perspective of, estrogen and testosterone and things like this. But I think the first place you want to look is your cortisol, and realizing if you do have these peak heightened anxiety at night, overactive thinking and problem solving, you most likely have created this habitual hormonal release in later in the day that is screwing up your sleep pattern. So then your organs don't get to reset through the night. What you want to do is shift the whole cycle. So how I like to think about it is zoom all the way out and say, okay, so I need to move my cortisol from late in the day to early in the morning. So how do you do that? Right now, I'm going to assume that you have a reasonable ability to create change in your life. Now, that's an assumption I'm making where I understand that that is a limited view. I don't know your situation. I'm so used to working one on one. It's like, wow, how do I address the multitude of variances that everyone will have, right? It's very refined how I do my coaching on what exactly the precision into where the blip is, right? So with you, you're going to have to feel into it. You can put it in the comments. I'll help you as much as I can. So, yeah. Um, I'm going to assume you can exercise, that you want to exercise, that you know the power uh, that exercise has to balance the hormones, which is one of the greatest tools that we have to shift. Alternative mental health, like, really should start with exercise, as far as I'm considered. It's like this is the number one way to help your mind body cope with stress. So if you can work out earlier in the day, okay? So if you have a high cortisol spike at night, you definitely want to work out before noon. You want to work out before noon so you can push that cortisol up through the day, so that by the time 7:30, 9 o'clock hits, you can move into that yin energy, when that's a natural time for you to start to unwind, let go of the stress, maybe throw another load of laundry in, but don't launch a business call at 8 p.m. at night. Right now, I know that's also not reasonable for everyone, right? Like sometimes I get out of session at 8 o'clock at night. So we play within these structures and we live within these structures, but with no structure at all, sometimes the body can just move into these patterns and cycles that are just not conducive for long-term health. And we know limited sleep is really detrimental in the body and the brain. So you want to think about high performance and having good smooth energy through the day. Then you'd say, all right, I want my cortisol to lift in the morning, so I'm going to get. And I sometimes, with my really very busy, some of my clients have multiple businesses, have a job and a business, have a couple of kids, like a lot happening, right? And often have a trauma story. So it's coping with all of life. So I understand that and I respect that. But even a 10 to 15-minute workout in the morning, you're not going to get the gains you'd get going 45 minutes, right? 7 days a week. Like, I respect and love those people. But if you can't do that, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you got to do it. And that's simply it. Like, I think I need to beast up on that. It's like, you just got to do it. There's no excuse any longer. Like, you have a physical vessel while you're on earth and you have a huge opportunity to celebrate it. And that piece is such a yummy piece to give yourself. So it's just like, got to do it. So that's my number one, is like, get your workout in early in the day, and you really need to have the workout because the workout is going to help you process that cortisol. Without that, throughout the day, you're going to be sort of adding more cortisol to the system, and then or not moving it in the right way, so that by the time the evening comes, it peaks. And you don't want that because you can't process it at night. You're not going to start working out at 11 o'clock at night. So that's my number one, work out earlier in the day. My number two here is really, you can find out what your cortisol cycle is, seeing a functional medicine doctor. I'm going to be rolling some stuff out in the fall where we're doing that. I'm really excited. I've also noticed personally that the nights that if I have one drink, I don't sleep as well, or I'll have 4 hours in the middle of the night that I'm up and down. So that's something that I'm really watching alcohol intake. I'd love to hear from you as far as your experiments, discover it with your own sort of boundaries around these things. That I think having limited poisons is realistic, but I also think we need to be very cautious and cognizant of what we ingest and why we ingest it and how we ingest it, right? So is it therapeutic? Is it spiritual? Or is it purely like, this is just what I do, right? And it's really reactive and sort of clingy. So exploring that stuff, is it coming from love? So the last piece I'll tell you, and then I'm going to hop off. I'll check if there's any comments. You can definitely tell me how your sleep is, scale of 1 to 10. How do you do with sleep? I'd love to know. And then, yeah, I want to tell you kind of my vitamins. Okay, so first line of defense for me, vitamins wise, is always going to be herbal. Okay, like natural, herbal, high quality. Quality really matters when it comes to this stuff. The only time I'll like buy a vitamin at Marshall's or something is if it's one of the product lines that I already know and love and they happen to have it for some reason. Okay, but I don't want to try stuff with like, we don't know what's in it. It's not going to be best for your. I sleep like a log. Okay, perfect. So you don't need this. You don't need this. Good for you. I love it. Share what you do. Um, yeah. So yeah, I guess everything I'm going to talk to you about is kind of herbal. Okay, so this is an anxiety. So what we're really talking about is managing cortisol. Okay. So this anxiety tincture, I love liquid tinctures. I feel like they're fast acting in the body, the high absorption rate, because it's a liquid, you don't have to go through the digestive system to process like, a hard pill. Second to that would be like a gel cap for something like this, right? So yeah, this tincture, it's called Roots Apothecary. Really nice stuff. Tastes great. You're going to feel less stress. I would take it depending on how much anxiety you have, how much stress you have to deal with. I would take it earlier in the day. This True Adapt Plus, this is adrenal support, which is where the stress cascade starts at the adrenals, and you don't want your adrenals to get overtaxed. And I would say most Americans have overtaxed adrenals, right? So that's a place where you want to add support. If you do deal with a lack of sleep, you want to take that stuff earlier in the day. There's also like a really nice one from Gaia that you can buy like yourself online right now. I can add the links to these things. Another thing that we often forget about or don't hear about very often is valerian root. Valerian root is a natural herb that helps you to slow down. This is where Valium came from. So, talk about like integrative medicine, right? It's like the root of a lot of our medicine is taken from Mother Nature. So let's just honor and respect all medicine. But yeah, you can take herbal valerian root. You might have some funky dreams, but it's not a bad thing. Vetiver root, this is an essential oil. So this is a very, very slow moving. If you can see, like, it's almost like chewy. It's really, excuse me, it's really like thick. So low viscosity, and you can actually ingest it. And oftentimes when I do so, like if I'm feeling anxiety or stress, I feel it in the back of my neck. Like it's almost like everything slows down in the central nervous system. And what's beautiful about this is totally natural. You just take a drop and it affects your entire system right away and will slow you down. These are things that I would look at as like attacking earlier in the day. Then I have my stuff at night. So there's two that I don't have the bottle to. And those are like I'm in an extreme I cannot sleep where it's sort of like, right, code red. So my first line of defense is going to be CBD gummies, and you want to do full spectrum. So it has a 3-to-1 or a 2-to-1. So you've got, and I won't go into this. I'm not an expert in CBD. I'm not going to probably ever be one, but I do use it now when I'm having issues. I'm noticing my cycle of sleep is kind of veering into, I'm kind of revved up and it's 9 o'clock. If I had my session at 8, my last session, I'm like, I better take something, right? Because I'm going to be up till midnight or later. So these are Irie Bliss nighttime gummies, and I'll take one of these before I brush my teeth. And I can put the link. I do like an affiliate link with Sandy. These are nice, high quality. And that is going to just slow your system down. I really don't like taking CBD in the day at all. I'm so sensitive, but it helps knock me out. So once I move, this is what's really good about the cycle. When you have your cycle, you have momentum. So when the momentum's working for you, right? You just know you're going to sleep well. You just are in a good sleep cycle. There's no, am I not going to sleep tonight? There's no nerves around it. You're just like, you just sleep well, and you literally put your head down on the pillow and you don't even know anything until you open your eyes in the morning. And I just love that feeling. I'm like, oh, I'm in a good sleep cycle. So to get you into that good sleep cycle, you kind of have to push a little bit, create a little change, and then stay with that momentum. The momentum will break because of life, summer, whatever. And then you go back here and you're like, all right, let me work a little harder to get back. Right? And that's how I see it. It's like this dance. So this is a really fantastic herbal blend. I don't know how to say this. Tranquinol. So it's really beautiful neurotransmitters. It improves relaxation. And it's so nice to just give your body some herbs that work together. So you have like a synergistic relationship between herbs. And when taken together, they'll enhance your ability to sleep. So some of the ingredients, right? Lemon balm, passion flower, classic like nerve resetters. Lavender works with cortisol. Valerian that I mentioned, all blended into one. This is fantastic. It's a little expensive. It might be $40 for this. I'll take 1 or 2 of these if I feel like I'm not in my good cycle, when I'm like, oh, I just need something to just let me know. I think also the placebo of like taking something makes you feel like, all right, I did my thing and I'm going to sleep now, right? The other 2 things, let me douse it. Should I tell them that? No, I'm not going to tell you that thing that I feel bad. Sorry. I'm so bad. Okay. So the other thing that I'll take on a rare occasion is I'll take melatonin. So melatonin is an interesting thing. I think America is overdosing on melatonin, and it affects the brain and liver negatively. It's actually a hormone, and we really don't want to take melatonin very often at all. The brain can only absorb um, the receptors can only take in about 2.5 melatonin a night. People are taking 5, 10 milligrams of melatonin, and that stuff is getting stuck in the body, stored in the body, not processed. And it's a hormone, which you really don't want to be taking hormonal stuff if you don't know exactly what's going on with your brain. And if, yeah, you have a store of melatonin that's not being processed. So I'll take melatonin when I'm like, it's more severe and I'm like, I really need to get a night of sleep and it's not looking good. So I'll take that. Okay. And then I will say, I have a pharmaceutical that if it's like code red, and I probably take one of those every 3 months. It's rare, but I do like to have that in my draw because I'm like, I'm going to win. Like, I'm like, and I have nothing against medicine. So I know I do maybe have a lot of vitamins I just showed you. I understand that, but that is really how I am. Like, I love knowing the right remedy for the right moment. I wanted to share all of this with you because it has been a process for me to get to a place where I know where I'm at with my sleep. I know that I can kind of control it. I know how the 24-hour circadian rhythm works. I would love to hear from you all on how you have found a way to get a really good night's sleep and how you protect your sleep patterns, how you advocate for yourself sleeping, whatever it is that's been sort of challenging, something you've triumphed that might help others. By telling our story, we never know who we can help. So please jump in with that. Ask any questions, and yeah, let me know what else you want me to cover on any of these lives as well. I'm happy to answer questions. Oh, valerian root's amazing. I used to have horrible insomnia. I now meditate, do a Reiki healing from head to toe, and it slows me down into an alpha. Then I fall asleep. Nice. I stop eating hours before I go to bed. Oh, that's great. Stop caffeine at 6 p.m. Oh, that's really late for me, but that's great. I have other people that look at me like I'm crazy when I'm pouring a cup of coffee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They're like, how do you do that? So I get it. Like, some people can only have one cup a day. Good. That's great. You can stay in the moment instead of worrying about all of the things. That's great. No blue light after the sun goes down. Good job. That's huge. I don't think I could get to that in this lifetime. Limit TV. Good. I always limit TV. Computer and cell phone use takes practice, but totally worth it. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Oh, I don't know what I just did there. Whoop. Hide. Oh, hide. Okay. All right, cool. So awesome. Shoot any questions. Let me just see if anything else is happening that I can see. Let's see. All right, my darlings. Oh, it's Dawn. Cool. Hi. Yeah, it's ironic too, because like I did not get a good night's sleep last night, but that was because I went to an event last night and I just am used to like total like at night so I can really like zonk out. I'm so delicate. It's kind of like, whoa. But yeah, so the irony is that I'm sharing this way of looking at sleep when I'm really tired. Right? Isn't that ironic? So I'm going to send you guys all the love in the world right now and have an amazing day, an amazing holiday weekend. And tune in below with any secrets you have for sleep. Okay, much love.